architect who was working out in Switzerland, I'm sorry, and he was trained in Holland in interior architecture and architectural design. He's worked in Switzerland and Japan, and his main interests include extreme environments, mobility, which will be included in this talk, and small living space as well. Perhaps he should just get started with that.
That's what I thought. Thank you very much, Alice. I would like to welcome you all to my presentation. With this presentation, Mr. Veldman from the Technical University in Holland, Department of Aerospace and Inflatable Structures, was giving me supportive advice. This project that I present, semi-rigid inflatable mobile and interior design concept. It's about a mobile workstation on the surface of Mars. It could contain 3 to 4 crew members, and the whole module is in a flexible framework. I will explain this project in 3 steps. The first step is a structure, what I shortly will address, because in this project I'm basically focusing more on the interior aspect. The second part is the living pattern, where I talk about how the space, how the plan is, why this plan is designed as it is, and why functions are located on particular areas in the rover habitat system. The third part is the interior, where I show interior views on the design concept. The whole concept is based on the cylindrical that is halved in the longitudinal axis. Through this way, you can store habitat and rover in one structure, in one capsule actually. And through this, it is actually cheaper, for instance, to launch it to orbit and on the way to Mars. As I introduced, the structure itself is on one part is it semi-rigid, but one of the plus points is structure benefits, design flexibility, optimal structure performance, and limit of structure mass. The top of the habitat, as well as the laboratory, is inflatable. The inflatable is kind of lightweight, relatively cheap, easy to deploy, and it has a low package volume. I shortly will view the assembling of the rover. So I talk about the semi-rigid structure. First of all, I have here the semi-rigid section of the rover habitat system. You can see the semi-rigid structure, and below in green different storage facilities. The racks are actually on the 55 degrees located and fixed in the semi-rigid structure. This is done on both sides, but I will show you in this graphic one side so you can see how the configuration is in the semi-rigid structure. The floor, as you can see, is fixed actually between the racks, and the floor is also to provide horizontal to support horizontal forces in the semi-rigid structure. And the last image shows on both sides the locations of the racks, and on top of them in the empty space you see the foldable upper bins. How the system is deployed I will show you later on. The deployment of the system entering the Mars atmosphere. Parachutes can function as braking device and additional airbags to brake the landing on the Mars surface. Separation illustration number, illustration right above, illustrates that by pressure device, the two systems actually separate from each other. Then further, internal control cables within the air structure helps to control the inflation on the rover and on the habitat system. As I show you a picture of a reference image of an inflatable surface, I will show you how the system is inflated. The system is inflated and deployed. In this first image, I reference to the semi-rigid structure and how the racks and upper bins are stored. Above that, you have the inflatable skin. Then, by pneumatic force, the skin is inflated. As the structure is finished, its total volume, the astronauts can enter the habitat and can fix the upper bins, the foldable upper bins, on the racks. And the racks can position upwards, like for instance using in the same way as you stowed your bench in the car. Then the last image shows the complete inflated structure and the interior space in this section. As you can see, that the racks are now above the floor level, so the storage facilities are now on the floor level for liquid or solid samples, luggage, and facilities for water supply, electricity, etc. In this second part, I will explain the living pattern. I will reflect to function, how the crew is using tools, or how the crew is using how the interaction with the racks is standing with the interior. I did research about social logic of space image left above, how far private space is giving for crew members and how private space can be feel when you are in a closed environment for a long duration. The image right above shows the comfortable reach in the rack and how the rack can be how the rack is functioning in this particular interior. Then the image left, I showed that there are on both sides where the racks are, you have the working zones and the circulation space between them for easily work or living space. This cross section shows in different color pattern. From the left, you have the working zone, then the toilet and the shower in blue, and the kitchen is docking to the living zone. Above the living zone, I situated the crew quarters for sleeping, and they can be they find the access, the entrance by foldable ladders. Let's quickly go back. Within the concept of the interior, I introduced foldable wall systems between lavatory and toilet, toilet and shower in the kitchen. How this system is functioning in the pattern through the day, I'll show you later on. The living pattern is based on 2 seats on both sides. The kitchen, shower, and toilet on one side to focus the water system on one side, and storage on the other side for different storage possibilities. And as you can see now, the foldable wall element actually shift, so you have a bigger plan for your working environment. I set up 2 glove boxes. One glove box to entering the liquid or solid samples, another glove boxes to connect with the first one to have further research in the rover habitat itself. Laboratories and a storage facility. As you can see, in this concept, the toilet is actually on both sides. It's usable in way you are closing or opening the foldable wall element. Pattern of use shows in this slide the living zone. Different patterns during the day and how this is reflecting the interior concept of the rover. By sleeping or meditation, only the sleep quarters or just below the living section can be used. By rise, exercise, or showering, you can use the whole part of the living zone. The concept shows the three foldable wall elements that you can have a private zone, for instance, for taking a shower, undress, and going to the toilet privately. And in this small habitat, this is for me it's kind of a plus that you have this closed environment and you can have a little retreat if it is in the cool quarter or where you can make your own toilet. Breakfast and the planning for the day is where you can see the whole back part of the road habitat is used. A foldable table can be can configure in different patterns by relaxing, working, reading, or socializing. Then this slide shows the pattern of use in the working zone. By driving, actually only the cockpit is used. When we go to the work pattern, the portable wall element is closing up the living zone, from the living zone. So you can actually focus, the crew can focus on the work and not interfere with the living pattern. So you are aware that you have two living patterns where you can switch from. Positioning of the robotic arm between the wheels made the robotic arm is in a safe, more or less safety zone, and the astronauts going EVA. Positioning of the airlock in this low habitat to ensure the shortest possible route actually when it's needed to research outside, or if there is a damage on the robotic arm, etc. Sample and analyze, the last below right. You see actually the whole working environment is in use, and for instance, this sample is put inside through the inflatable structure with a sample airlock. Interior, in a small living environment, I will show you the interior. Below left you can see where you are standing in the rover habitat and where you are looking at. This particular image shows a difference in use by the three foldable wall elements. On the left side, one foldable wall element is closed. I did not actually stretch the foldable wall element over the vertical axis totally to the ceiling to have a longer perspective of view over the whole, through the whole habitat. And by enclosed you have a horizontal, more aligned view to the living section. I tried here also to find, to attach colors and to find the right color combinations, and to use, for instance, the sea green in the laboratory must provide the concentration and to find more focus on the work, where you have the upper store bins stimulate the horizontal alignment of the total interior view. In the living zone, various storage volumes in a patchwork of a different color scheme, where the crew can have different sizes of boxes, and where they can make their own pattern, and also the color scheme break actually on the background the regularity of the whole interior. So you have to kind of play with what the crew can do, or what the crew can actually influence the interior by themselves. This view shows in 3 steps the foldable wall elements and what it does in the perspective of view. The upper lines, its ceiling quarters are above, as I expressed before. It's a lower ceiling where you have this more closed environment, and with the upper lines, what can be what you can dim, or where you can change color. The idea is to have this 24-hour cycles for the astronauts, as we have here on Earth. And here the letters are, as you can see down, the storage facilities in the living section. On the left side is a possibility to make the horizontal alignment more aware, and other ideas to store them, as you can see on the right, more as color, volumes, patterns. I choose for a blue floor actually to link with the blue planet as a contrast to the living environment on Mars, to be aware that you're not taking too much red colors or red patterns in your interior design, and the totally blue floor stimulates also the longitudinal axis through the whole rover. My last slide gives an overview about what I talked about, structure, how the structure is inflated, the living pattern, different possibilities in rover habitat system and use, and the interior design in different perspectives. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Are there any questions? I have one. Mark, did you have a question?
Yes.
Shall I ask Mark?
How do you connect the inflatable to the lower unit? How is that seal made?
And the seal made, I didn't go into that specifically, but I think as I can hop on. You mean actually how this seal is made?
How the inflatable sits on that platform, on the hard platform? What keeps that? What makes the seal there? What prevents the atmospheric pressure inside from escaping through the entire crack line?
If I understand you correctly, the whole interior system is actually under a pressure environment, and that pushes the inflatable.
Does the inflatable go all the way around?
No.
How do you make the? You have a balloon that is shaped like a semi-cylinder, and it sits on top of a flat hard surface. What prevents the atmosphere inside from escaping?
The entire thing is sealed.
The inflatable beams go into the structure, so the structure itself keeping them fixed. Is that what you mean? Or?
Oh, I see. Well, that whole thing is, well, what keeps the air from escaping around the edge where that joint?
Here.
What, I mean,
We could probably, it would be maybe a next study, you could just have that completely be sealed all the way around, just have the inflatable go inside. All the way through, and have it completely.
you still haven't told me how do you make the seal? What is the seal made of? What keeps the air from escaping that's inside the habitat? I mean, unless the inflatable goes all the way around, you still have a point where you've got an inflatable
Joint.
surface.
You have a joint.
Yeah, I think you have to be aware that that the additional sealing is made here.
Right, but what my point is
Interior
that
is
you've got the scalloped edge that comes through there, where those tubes are up against a hard surface, and what do you fill that with? I mean, are you putting in epoxy? Are you using O-rings or some sort of gasket, or how do you keep the air from escaping?
I don't really see where you are addressing it, Mark. So where you
Why,
are.
why don't you build a scale model of it and see whether it'll hold
I
an
think he's
atmosphere?
saying that the interior skin is continuous.
No,
There's an
doesn't it
exterior.
stop? It stops somewhere down in the structure, doesn't it?
Go point.
Your inflatable goes into a hard structure here and it stops. And I'm asking you, what do you have in here to prevent all the air in here that's under pressure from escaping to that end? Just going around and escaping to that end.
My idea was to have an interior extra skin. What is fixed on the outside to the inflatable structure, and here it is closed up from the single rigid structure. So actually you have to only see this point.
What is that material made of? How do you make it? What material seals both to the soft inflatable and to the rigid floor? And how do you do that? Epoxy? I'm asking you for what is that mechanical piece there? What is the structural mechanical piece that'll make that seal?
See, Mindert, I think the idea of having a partially hard and partially inflatable is really interesting. Mark's being extremely tough.
That's no problem.
And you could think about maybe just making that entire the pressure vessel just continuous all the way through, and then you mount your hard surface outside of that. You can still make that work. So it would be something that you could investigate, because that is the joint in that pressure vessel. Any kind of joint or any kind of seam is it's extremely critical. It's very, very difficult, and especially if you have a long linear seam. If you have a smaller seam that's in a circle where you can have a tension ring to hold that in, it's still very difficult to even put puncture in any way. So those are things you need to think about.
That's a good topic to have further discussions and further research on.
I have a much less technical question. On your last slide, you talked about structure, use pattern, and interior. And I'm wondering if you know that your three categories seem to me to be fairly clearly aligned with Vitruvius's firmness, commodity, and delight. Did you know that?
Not really, but
Well, I think that's interesting because it always does come down to those three things. And I'm reassured of that fact by the fact that you didn't know it.
thank you.
David?
I just have a question. When I look at your perspective at the last slide, I see the whole space. I just wondered, in your whole rover or the habitat, do you have a window in space? And what would that be?
The only estimate you have to be outside is when you are sitting in a cockpit or when it's in a drive mode.
Because I'm quite curious why you decided, because from this interior perspective, I see that the cockpit, it seems to be a independent unit that have a door in front of it.
Yeah.
And I just wonder why you choose to do it and not having a whole kind of like right from the cockpit down to the end.
Basically, I choose for this solution is that this on one side I thought about the solar radiation and how the cockpit can be kind of capsule totally closed from the environment behind. So I choose for a wall element to have this closed environment as a safety capsule for the crew if they need to evacuate for a solar flare or and in addition this is then on one side this is the only drive, this is the only way to view the outside, but also kind of a safe retreat for the whole crew. Is this what you are?
You know, I just like this, when I look at the habitat, it seems it's well designed, but the only things I didn't see is how does the habitat itself relate to the environment outside. And usually, normally when you talk about architecture, you generally look at space and then you relate to the landscape, like in this case, Mars outside.
Yeah.
So when the crews or the people using space, when they look outside, they see, they can relate themselves in this kind of like idea. But in your space, I just don't see the window. It's just a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I was very cautious to make windows actually in inflatable structures and to find there's still a kind of problem with it, and if it is really necessary, if you have this cockpit where you can, if you want to look outside, you have the option over there. Or you can